Good morning, and welcome to today's webcast, Financial Planning for Workforce Growth and Development. Before we begin, I'm going to play a brief housekeeping video.
Welcome, and thank you for viewing our webcast series. Before we begin, please keep the following in mind. You can customize how you view our presentation and interact with the presenter. For better viewing, close all other applications and turn up your speaker volume. You can adjust window size and placement or enter full screen mode using the controls of the top right of the window or dragging the bottom right-hand corner to resize. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a series of icons that relate to a different aspect of our session. You can download a PDF of today's slides from the Slide Deck and Handouts widget. You can ask questions by typing in the Q&A window and clicking Submit. We'll do our best to answer all questions or follow up via email. If you experience technical difficulty, refresh your browser by hitting the F5 key. This presentation is not legal, investment, or accounting advice. We encourage you to seek the counsel of a professional service provider to apply this content to your specific circumstances.
I'm pleased to introduce today's presenters from Moss Adams, Brian Favorat, Senior Manager, and Kristi Armijo, Senior Manager. Kristi manages cloud-based corporate performance management and business intelligence platforms. She implements CPM solutions that enable businesses to gain enhanced analytics and business insights by streamlining financial planning and analysis processes, automating data collection and consolidation, and providing real-time visibility into key performance metrics. Brian has experience selecting, maintaining, and deploying financial system solutions and provides management consulting services to private, public, and not-for-profit clients. He implements corporate performance management solutions that allow for enhanced analytics and business insights. With that, I'll turn it over to Kristi to get us started.
Thank you. So for today's agenda, we're going to be talking about the challenges of personnel planning and how an EPM solution can help you with a value-based approach. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So labor costs are a significant component of most businesses, financially, operationally, strategically. And then you look at talent retention, workforce optimization, growth opportunities. However, find the right balance to have the right resources available can be very challenging, especially when incorporating human capital into your overall organization plan. Personnel planning is essential for organizations to ensure you have the right people in the right roles at the right time. This involves forecasting workforce needs, identifying skill gaps, and then developing strategies to address them. By building a better alignment between operations and finance is crucial to support delivery. Many organizations strive to improve alignment between their operations and finance to enhance their delivery capabilities. To achieve this, you may ask, what is the current personnel cost burden? Or, are we looking to maintain our current workforce? Are we looking to right size in certain areas? Or are we positioning ourselves to grow? By addressing these questions, you can develop strategies to support your goals and objectives. While spreadsheets are a very useful tool for data management and analysis, they can create challenges. For example, they can limit the ability to handle large amount of data or even complex calculations, making it difficult to manage and analyze data effectively. They can be prone to errors such as incorrect formulas, missing data, or even incorrect data entry. So when you think about this, these errors can lead to inaccurate analysis and decision making, which can have some negative consequences. And spreadsheets are typically used by individuals, which can make it difficult to collaborate on the data analysis and reporting, which creates a problem of silos. So you're looking at the information, it's siloed, and there's a lack of transparency across the organization. And then another challenge you might run into is you're sharing and copying spreadsheets that can create some security risks around sensitive data, which can potentially lead to unauthorized access of confidential information. Then there are challenges of having multiple versions of the exact same spreadsheet that are created and shared, leading to version control and consolidating the data together. So this can cause confusion and errors when you're reconciling these different versions of the same data. Is it old? Is it new? Who has the most current information? So finding a solution that can address these challenges while improving performance is key. So EPM solution can provide your organization a platform with real-time visibility into key metrics related to your planning process. It will allow you to create and test multiple scenarios related to personnel, which enables your organization to evaluate the potential impact of different scenarios on your workforce and make informed decisions based on accurate data. So to think about an EPM solution, can it provide advanced modeling and forecasting capabilities that help you forecast your workforce needs, that will lead to improved financial performance and allocation distribution? Do you plan by salary and hourly employees, or maybe union or non-union, or maybe you're planning by headcount? What if you need to allocate between the different divisions or departments, or a combination? Or maybe it's a combination of all of these. Finding a solution that addresses these is key. Since collaboration and data sharing is crucial for effective planning, an EPM solution encourages this across your organization. What if you have the capability for your different teams and departments to work together at the same time and develop personnel planning strategies with everyone having access to the same accurate data? In addition, if you're able to get real-time reporting and visualization tools that allow you to monitor your personnel performance, identify trends, and make necessary adjustments. So let's talk about comparing actuals versus budget or plan for personnel expenses. It's very useful to understand trends and variances. So simply just looking at a number in isolation does not give you any context. But if you can start comparing that to a budget or a forecast, then all of a sudden you're creating meaning, and that's going to help drive decision making. The concept of being agile, which involves analyzing the data, asking questions about where things are going and what can be done to address these issues. An automated system allows the necessary information to be consolidated in one place, allowing for timely decision making. It will also allow you to see variance and trends in a one-page report. And this way you can identify the trends and take action before it's too late. Because many of the times when you find those trends, it is too late to course correct. So there is a metric on the bottom of the page. It reveals that 64% of annual targets become obsolete within 4 to 6 months. This emphasizes the need for a centralized system that is easy to update and keep current. By having a budget that is locked down and then having a live action plan, or essentially a scenario that you can manage in real time, what this will allow you to do is be agile in your business and stay ahead of the developing trends. All right, so let's just take a moment to hear from you. What is the biggest challenges your organization faces when it comes to personnel planning? And Brian, I'd be interested to hear some of the biggest challenges you see organizations facing today.
Yeah, absolutely. And these are very much many of the common ones, but oftentimes we see an assortment of these. So limited scalability. We see some organizations, especially as it pertains to personnel, they might be a bit smaller in size, things are manageable. There's not that much to to account for. But as you're growing, or as you're looking to manage a larger organization, trying to keep track of all the rows and everything as it expands and as the complexity of the business expands can definitely be a challenge. Data errors. So I'm sure everybody is familiar with maybe spreadsheet related formula references. If you're not, congratulations. Lack of collaboration, collaborating with the organization, getting all of the information in one place and getting the right people to see that and interact with that information can be a challenge. And that really ties into security as well, allowing only those, especially with personnel, to see the information that they're supposed to see or not see, or maybe they're supposed to see a roll-up of that particular element. So each of these kind of presents its own challenge, but in some cases, organizations might be experiencing all of them. All right. So let's take a look at some of the results here. All right. So limited scalability, lack of collaboration, and then all of the above are coming in. So almost like a third of everybody is saying that we're experiencing all of these different things. And then scalability and lack of collaboration being kind of top tier items as well. And that is certainly something that an EPM solution can help with, especially the scalability element. That is kind of critical because it doesn't just affect personnel. It usually relates to all the different aspects of the FP&A process. And then lack of collaboration, that's a risk there, because what we also find is the more collaboration that you have in the organization, the more reliable and accurate the planning is. So thank you, everybody, for that feedback.
All right. So when we're looking to utilize appropriate data, is crucial for decision making. But many firms struggle due to like the siloed approach. So kind of like going back to that polling question, is it's siloed, lack of transparency, lack of scalability. So when we're looking at this, we see about 83% of CEOs want to be data driven. However, we're only seeing about 30% of people who actually are data driven. An automated system can provide a centralized, continuously updated plan for decision making and agility. Having good information readily available is essential for decision makers, and spreadsheets can delay that process and also put your organization at risk. So moving to an automated system can improve your decision making, drive agility. It can give the ability for your team to work together as well as to scale up. So one solution is adaptive planning. And adaptive is an excellent EPM solution for personnel planning because it really provides a solution that gives you real-time visibility into key metrics. It enables your organization to create and test multiple scenarios related to personnel, while allowing you to evaluate potential impact of different scenarios on your workforce. Whether you're looking to add headcount, move headcount around, whatever the case might be, you're able to start being able to plan within there. And then having this information is going to help you make decisions based with accurate data. And adaptive also has advanced modeling and forecasting capabilities that will enable you to forecast your workforce needs, lead to improve financial performance, and also allocate your employees. So whether it's like by department, by division, whatever the capabilities, you can fine tune it and customize it for yourself. It also encourages collaboration and data sharing across the organization in a secure manner, which is essential for effective planning. Allowing your different teams and departments to work together and to develop a personnel strategy while ensuring that everyone has access to the same data will allow your organization to be agile. And finally, Adaptive has reporting and visualization tools that enable your organization to monitor your personnel performance in real time while helping you to identify trends, and make necessary adjustments to keep to your personnel planning strategies. And now I'm going to turn over the floor to Brian for a demo.
Perfect. Thank you, Kristi. All right, so let me start sharing my screen here. And Kristi, just let me know when that comes up for everybody.
Now.
Awesome. All right. So just to reiterate a couple points that Kristi had mentioned there. So there's lots of capable systems out there in the workplace. The tool that here at Moss Adams that we're most aligned with is the Workday Adaptive Planning Solution. So what you're seeing on my screen here is an example of a workforce planning model. And sometimes these take on different names. I've heard all sorts of things, but common terminology would be like workforce planning or named personnel planning, something to that effect. But essentially what this sheet is, and let me just blow this up a little bit to make it perhaps a bit easier on your screens and your eyes to see this information. But essentially what this is it's a roster of employees in the organization, and it provides their kind of census information about each of these individuals. So who they are, their name, their title, their residency for tax purposes, excuse me, start dates, end dates if applicable, hours per week. You might have some employees that are annual or hourly. You can also plan if you have specific benefits plans or pension plan identification. In this model as well, what you can also do are things, and you could do it by the person, or if you wanted to do it more in aggregate across the organization, you could plan pay raises, incorporate their pay rate information. If you have certain bonus or commission calculations that factor into that as well, that's all capable. And then last but not least, but one of the things that Kristi had mentioned earlier as well, sometimes is a challenge for organizations, is the allocation element. So once we have this information on the person, and there is an allocation out to separate departments or programs or classes or projects or whatever the case might be, there's a mechanism here to be able to allocate those expenses per the definition. So this really provides the overall census of like who's in our roster. In addition to that, and I'll show an example of this in a minute, you can also incorporate potential new hires into this model. So if your business is looking to grow, you can incorporate some of those. Additionally, with this budget, or perhaps with the scenario budget or version, you could plan for terminations as well. So if you're looking to model and see what it would look like to add, remove, maintain your workforce, this model makes it really easy to interact with the data and then make those adjustments and evaluate the results from that. So my favorite feature of this, though, is having the system do really all the work for you in terms of the calculations. So what you're seeing on here is kind of like the face value, like what do we know about these people and what are some of our assumptions on it? And then if we drill in behind these, what you'll find is you can see that the system is doing all of the calculations for you to evaluate what are our headcounts, our FTEs, our salaries, our bonuses, taxes, benefits, all the rest of it. So I'm just going to expand this a little bit here and scroll a little bit further to the right. And we'll start seeing some of those calculations come into play here. So every organization is a little bit different in terms of what calculations they need to accommodate for. And in addition to that, there's different ways to calculate some of these things. And we've seen sort of every flavor of it. But if you're looking to work towards certain thresholds or mere processes and procedures within the organization, that can all be customized and catered to each of these types of calculations, which is really powerful. Because instead of trying to make sure that all of these calculations are right and they're working correctly, what you're really focusing on is this side of things and incorporating in the people and the assumptions, that sort of the operational element to this, if you will. And then again, the system is doing behind this, all of this type of work to actually get our information calculated and rendered. And once that's put into place, it flows through to the GL account structure. And from there, you can start doing more analysis on the P&L side of things, or statement of activities. So this is a little bit about the named personnel planning. Another flavor of this, and I have just a quick example of it here, would be something like an hourly workforce model, or sometimes we see this referred to as position planning or FTE planning. So in some organizations, it doesn't make a ton of sense to plan to the actual person themselves because there might be some churn in that. Where we see this type of activity might be in like retail, where you have cashiers, or if you're manufacturing and you have different factory floor type people, or you're in agriculture or forest products or all the rest of it. There's a variety of different organizations, but there's a common theme with these types of roles where what we really want to do is just plan a certain FTE, because we know we're going to have the role. We just don't know exactly who's going to fill that role. And sometimes it's a seasonal element too. So some of it is, maybe we have some of these roles, but we only have them for part of the year. But effectively what you're able to do here is plan, the segment of the organization, what type of role it is, what the rate is, other considerations like overtime and benefits, and then really just identify what your projected FTEs would be in those roles. And similarly, if we click behind this, what we'd find is Adaptive is doing the work here to render those employee-specific expense burden and calculation. There you go. So once this planning is put into place, and by the way, the working budget here is often what we refer to as something like the rolling forecast. But you might also have reforecast or what if scenarios that you would like to render. Here's our best guess, and this is what you might represent here or on this sheet here as well. But if you're looking to do some adjustments and you don't necessarily want to have it impact your core budget there, it's really easy to just create a separate version and then just factor in some of those adjustments. So adding in some of the new hires or whatever the case might be. And once you have this information rendered in these types of models, what you can start to do is render these type of reports. So what you're seeing here is an example of a cost of workforce variance report. And what you have on the left is this is for the entire organization, but the cost of the workforce, actuals, working budget. We have it broken down by payroll activities here and taxes. You can look at your variances. You can see if you're within threshold, and if you're out of threshold, you can look at it from a periodic basis or year to date. It's all really useful information if management is looking to track to certain employment-based metrics. Next report here, just a slightly different flavor of this. I just like to do some different flavors sometimes to give everybody a different view into the information. But rather than looking at the total organization, what we sometimes like to be able to do is empower our departmental managers to say, okay, let's say I wanted to look at how things are going in the finance department. Instead of looking at the entire list, have a report like this that allows us to do a little bit of drill down here. So now I can look at finance and all of the expense burden related to that. And last but not least, here is a report. This is a FTE metric report. So rather than looking at financial numbers, what you're seeing here are the operational metrics. So what were our actual FTEs? We bring that into the system here. What did we have planned and budgeted for? And what are our variances? Or are we on track with these items as well? So you can really incorporate all of this information into Adaptive to really allow you to be more strategic around your personnel planning. And once you have this data in place, you can render it on these tabular type reports, but also graphical representations can be helpful as well. If we're trying to understand, more like where have we been, where are we going, what are we aspiring to, that sort of thing. So each of these graphs can tell a little bit of their own story as well, provide proportionality, or also show a trend analysis, or provide a breakdown of how we're spending on these employees, that sort of thing. Awesome. All right. So value-based approach, just ran through a quick demo there of adaptive planning, but adaptive is a tool, and what it really strives to do is help provide better business insights, more value to the organization. So in this graph here, you're seeing two triangles, the one on the left and the one on the right. The one on the left shows what we see as a lot of companies' current operating state, where they're spending, a disproportionate amount of their time preparing data, wrangling it, getting it into the system, making sure that all the formulas and data points are there and accurate. Then they spend some time putting together different reports. Sometimes they're not fully automated, or they need to create new ones. It can sometimes be a challenge to do. And then after all of that work is done, they finally get a chance to evaluate that information. Where are we? Where are we going? And answering those key questions. What we're attempting to do here is help move organizations to that desired state. And what that desired state really means is spending a lot less of your time doing that data operations, the tactical, wrangling the data, minimize some of the time it takes to actually produce those reports. And then what you're left with is a large portion of time to actually do the evaluation and the strategy. And once you're at that spot, what you can really get into is more of the scenario analysis as well. It's like, okay, because as everybody knows, once you get to that spot, people start then asking questions. Okay, so this is where we're at. Well, what if we did? And then obviously what follows is maybe usually making adjustments to new scenarios and that sort of thing. So high performing organizations, just to kind of summarize here, what we find when people are using, struggling with spreadsheets and spending a lot of time pulling together information, they really lack those timely insights. High performing organizations, they have a plan, they perform to that plan, they track to that plan, and what that really requires is people to be part of that process. And communication, that's the circle that kind of ties all these together. Communication is the mechanism to identify those results and show where we're at. And that's where a tool like Adaptive can really come into play to help make that the process more automated. So something I mentioned earlier about decision making, what we're trying to do is help move things forward. So a lot of times organizations are spending a lot of time looking at what has happened in the past. So, and that's the typical accounting function, right? You have information coming in, and then at the end of the month, you aggregate it, and then you're answering that question on the right as what had happened, what happened. What I think a lot of people are interested in knowing, more so, a more powerful question is what is happening? Because if you're asking what is happening, what that allows people to do is look into the information, look into the data, and see if there's things that they can do to manifest a change. So, for example, as it pertains to personnel, maybe certain expenses or certain FTEs aren't within threshold, and we're looking to make a hiring decision on someone. Well, when would be the appropriate period to bring them in? Or does that position, is that still relevant? Is there a conversation to be had about the type of people that we're hiring or certain FTEs that are open right now or open recs? So that's what this aims to do here. And then this graph here, what we're also trying to attempt is to not just focus on the current forecast. A lot of organizations put together their annual budget and they just track to that 1 year. But with an EPM solution, what you're then able to do, you can, the green little tiles there represent actuals, and the blue represents your budget or your forecast. It can be a rolling mechanism. So budgeting doesn't have to just be an annual process where you have a start and end date. It can be an ongoing, continuous process where you're constantly reevaluating where you're at and helping the organization to make better decisions by having that timely information. So that concludes the bulk of what I wanted to address here, but just some final thoughts here. Benefits of automated planning and reporting really empowers the organization, a lot of efficiency, automation, consolidation, and achieving financial metrics to help bring better insights to the organization. Continuous engagement here. We like to help our clients to achieve responsiveness, adaptability, collaboration, empower the employees, and be more in control with your data. That said, I just wanted to thank everybody for joining our webinar today. We really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us, and we hope you join us for our upcoming webinars. And we do have one planned in October for scenario planning, but otherwise, hopefully we get a chance to talk to you before then.
All right. Thank you, Kristi and Brian, for a great presentation today. If we didn't have time to answer your questions, we'll do our best to follow up with you after the webcast. Here's a link to an online survey where you can provide feedback for today's presentation. Please take a moment to complete this, as your feedback is very important to us. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you'll join us again next time.